When sculptor Gillian Genser started working on Adam, a sculpture primarily made up of mussel shells, she had no idea what lay ahead of her. I had selected those shells because they so beautifully replicated mussel fiber, the striations of the shells, the movements of the shell so beautifully replicated mussel fiber, Genser said. She spent hours picking the mussels and buying them from various shops in Toronto's Chinatown. When she was done, she would return home, where she would cook them for herself and her friends, and grind the shells into a powder she could use for her art. Genser spent hours on end in her studio, practically breathing in the mussel dust as she worked tirelessly on her creation. Not long after starting Adam, she began to feel ill. It started with headaches, vomiting, and agitation, but later grew into hearing loss, short-term memory loss, difficulty speaking, and difficulty recognizing close friends. Despite seeing numerous doctors and numerous medicines, her problems persisted. To be fair to my doctors, they did ask me, "Are you working with anything toxic?" And I'd say, "Oh no, I'm working with all natural materials," and we'd all move on. I was so certain that these mussels, which the government said I could eat safely and buy in the market as food, could never be bad for me, Genser said. In 2015, Genser finally discovered the issue. She had dangerously high levels of arsenic and lead in her system. Not long after, she talked to an expert at Toronto's Royal Ontario Museum, where she discovered that the mussel shells, heavily contaminated by pollution and industrial waste, were the cause of her problems. Although Genser immediately stopped working with the shells after her discovery, the metals will remain in her system for the rest of her life. She continues to suffer memory lapses and nausea, and has an increased risk of neurological diseases, such as Alzheimer's or Parkinson's disease. Mussels are common worldwide, and can be found at many restaurants. Although eating a few might not be as harmful as daily exposure to them for years, it's worrying that pollution has affected natural organisms to the point where they can be extremely harmful to humans. I stopped to think about the mussels and how they cannot leave their polluted habitats we have just dumped all this poison into, Genser says. I feel terrible grief for them. We did this to them, they didn't do it to me.